Hi there, welcome to this build of a 48-inch wingspan Tomboy Senior. A lovely vintage model that was designed or reworked by David Boddington, and he based his design on the 1950s Tomboy by Vic Smeeds. It's essentially a larger version. Now, as you can see from what we've got in front of us, we're getting pretty advanced with this build now, and there's not a great deal to do. We've got the majority of the build done. A little bit of balsa work, just filling in some little bits once we've got the radio gear on, and obviously the fuselage needs covering. But the next job we need to do is to install the servos. We've got the radio, we've got the battery, and we've got the control linkages. That is the next thing we need to do. But it's really important that, in fact, I would say it's critical that we get those in the right location. And by putting them in the right location, we can either avoid adding any weight to the nose or the tail, or we can minimize what we do need to add to get the CG right on this plane. Because it's critical that we get the CG right as specified on the plans if we want it to fly nicely. But we want to get that CG, to meet that CG point without adding any extra weight. So we need to get this radio gear and battery in the right location. If we stick it down in the tail, we're obviously going to end up with a tail heavy plane and have to put a shed load of lead up in the nose to make it balance. So what we're going to do now is determine the best location for this radio gear. Now, all the indications are that this is going to be tail heavy, according to the article that was written by David Boddington at the same time as these plans. He said his model came in at 850 grams and he had to add lead to the nose because it's a naturally tail heavy plane. And you can kind of see that. There's quite a lot of timber down that way compared to up here maybe. I don't know, we'll see. But what we're going to do in this video is we're going to mock up the plane as best we can with everything that we cannot alter. So, and an example of that is we're going to put the wings on, and the wings can only go in one place. We can't move the wings backwards or forwards. They have to go, let me just get this band on, they have to go here, yeah? Likewise, the tail plane and the fin need to go at the back here. We can't alter the location of these items. Same with the control surface, the elevator. The engine, well, we've got a little bit of leeway still. It goes on the front and we've probably got about 10 mil, maybe not even that, forwards and backwards to help us arrive at the same CG. The wheels need to go on the axles, only place they can go. Same with the keepers to hold the wheels on. Now, other than that, more or less, yeah, that's everything I think that has to go where it has to go. Now, the radio gear we can put back here if necessary. If it's really nose heavy, we can put it back here to make it balance. If it's really nose heavy, tail heavy, then we want to put this battery way forward, right against the firewall if we can. Same with the radio and the servos. So what we're going to do is we're going to mock this up, and we're going to, I'm going to get the wheels on in a minute, and we're going to see where that natural CG is falling on this plane. I won't pick it up now because the tail will fall off. So once we've got everything fitted that can't be moved, we'll find out whether it's tail heavy or nose heavy, and that will help us determine whereabout we put that radio gear and battery. Essential if you don't want to add weight. I know I've said that probably 2 or 3 times, but I really believe that this is a critical stage in model making. It's really good if we can keep our models as light as possible. They fly nicer, the landings are a lot softer and a lot slower. So I'm going to just fit the wheels now, and I'll fit the tail and the fin properly, and then we'll come back and we'll see, oh, and the engine. I'm not going to screw the engine in and bolt it in because I want a little bit of leeway. I'm just going to put an elastic band around it and hold it in place for now, and then we'll see. So I'll come back in a minute once I've got all that done, and we'll see where that CG is falling. Or not, yeah, the natural CG of the plane, not the desired CG which we want to achieve. Well, we've now got this mocked up really good with all the stuff that can't be moved. As I said, the wings, the tailplane, the fin. We've got some carbon fibre control rods which I'm hoping to use. I've got the control horns, clevis, bolts on the back of the tailplane here where they're going to go, so we're accounting for that weight. Got the wheels on and the keepers, got the engine and the prop, and essentially everything that can't be moved. I know I said the engine can be moved backwards and forwards a little bit, but there's not a lot of leeway there. So I know there's still stuff to go on this. We've still got the covering on the back, we've got a little bit of balsa here in the front, and it needs fuel proofing, but those are things that we can't add at the moment, and this is to give us a good indication. It doesn't have to be 100% precise. So what we're going to do now, we're going to see where that natural CG is falling. So I'm going to put my fingers on the CG point that we want to achieve on the plans and see whether it's tail heavy or nose heavy. And then hopefully we can make a decision on where we put things like the battery, the radio and the receiver. So if I put my fingers on the specified CG point, and kind of as expected, that's pretty tail heavy. You certainly wouldn't want to fly it like that. But what we have to remember is the radio gear, and particularly the battery, is our friend, because there's quite a bit of weight in this. It's a 5-cell 6-volt. I was going to get a lighter one if I didn't need it, but I might as well put in a decent sized battery, the 6-volt battery that will do the job of balancing it, rather than putting a smaller, lighter battery and then having to add lead. So we've got a hole under here which I left so that we could put the battery right up against the firewall if we needed to. And if I slot that battery in there, that will hold in there nicely. We can put the radio gear on the CG point, which is a kind of a nice place within the cockpit to fit it anyway. There's plenty of room there. And now we'll see what differences that has made, and whether we're still in a position where we might have to add a little bit of lead somewhere. I mean, if it's nose heavy now, that's fine. We can move the battery back or the servos back. Well, I would say now that is balancing pretty nicely. Maybe a tad nose heavy, but probably not. But that is pretty good. I'm quite pleased with that. So what that is telling us is that actually we're probably going to get away without adding any lead to this model if we're careful with this installation. And way back in one of the earlier videos I said that there was, I'll just show you, an area on the front. I was thinking of adding a little bit more balsa. Just I don't know where that shows up, but where this is sewn on it just looks a little bit of a mess. So I was thinking of adding a little bit of balsa there to patch that. The hatch here will need, where the radio has just gone, not the radio, the battery's just gone, will need a little bit of a cover on it. So I think, if anything, this is going to be very slightly nose heavy if we're not careful. But that's with the battery up against the firewall, and we can move that back. because this former here has got a hole in battery size that I deliberately left so we could move the battery back if necessary. I hope you can see how important this is and how critical it is, because if we'd just installed everything in the middle, we'd end up adding lead to the nose. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get those servos finished, and I'm going to try fitted, sorry, and I'm going to try my hardest to get them on the actual CG point where they were when we just balanced it. And then once I've finished off doing this nose, a little bit of sheeting there, a little bit of sheeting on the side and underneath, I think with the battery against the firewall it's going to be nose heavy, so we can just slide it back a little bit to get that critical CG. Well, not only is this a really good exercise so that we can go forward now and put the servos in and the radio gear, happy in the knowledge that we're going to be more or less on track with getting this thing to balance without any added weight, but also it's just really nice to get it together and to get an indication of what a great plane this is going to be and how good it looks. And I can't wait now to get this finished and get it to the airfield, and I feel like we're really on the home stretch with this. So anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you found this useful and interesting, and please come back and see the next video and see how we get on putting in the radio gear and the control linkages.